Pointer.
Okay, Shaq.
So you see the skull is lined by this dura mater, right?
Okay.
It's different than the dura in the on the spinal cord because that's loose. This is attached to the bone, and so the dura up here has two layers. It has a periosteal layer, which is actually the periosteum on the inside of the bone, and then the meningeal layer, which is the layer facing the brain. Notice this thing in the middle. The dura has a particular configuration where it has a septum that comes down the middle and divides right and left hemispheres. Okay, and then it goes down and spreads this way, and it makes a shelf between the occipital lobes and the cerebrum, and that's called the tentorium cerebelli, and we'll see that. Okay. Now, these are some of the communicating veins. You guys over here can see this vein here. I know that's broken off. That one is coming through the skull, okay? And there's a couple more that come into this chamber. You see the dura from each side, they come together and they make a long chamber in there. See where the forceps is? All the way around to the front. That's called the superior sagittal sinus. And that receives all the blood from the brain. And what you're seeing in here is these veins, like these broken off veins. These came from the surface of the brain. Here's a broken one right here, and it goes into the superior sagittal sinus. So where these veins go off the brain and go into the sinus along here is a danger area where a lot of movement of the brain. If you fall down, the brain will kind of go like that, and these little veins can tear. And you end up with the subneural hematoma a couple weeks later because it'll just kind of seep out of there. I'm sure you're aware of that. Okay? So hopefully the dissectors will strip this dura from the skull, or maybe we can do it. I wanted to show you. There we go. Pretty delicate, huh? But now you can see the grooves in the bone. Yeah, the middle meningeal artery travels in that groove there. You see, supplying the dura. And there it is on the dura, the middle meningeal artery. Okay? And you can see it's very substantial. It's a big artery, and it's right in that groove. And of course, right there is the pterion, the thin part of the skull. Right here. Notice how thin and flexible the skull is right there. It's hardly anything. Okay. So this thin the skull is. Very thin. That's the pterion. Okay. The other thing you can find in here are see all the pits, these big pits up there in there? Those holes, all those holes, all these holes. Okay, those are arachnoid villi. These little things, see these little things that look like seeds on the brain? Look at those little things. They're like little. Oops.
Sorry.
You gotta take a picture of those brain seeds, warts. That's arachnoid villi. Sometimes they get big enough to actually make an indentation in the skull. That is where the cerebrospinal fluid in the CSF is transferred back into the venous system. Okay, so it's made inside the brain, escapes the brain kind of floats in it, circulates around, goes to the villi and into the sinus, and we'll hear about that next week. But you can see all those sites in here. Okay, cool. Okay, didn't know you had that, did you? Now the brain. Okay, first thing to notice is that we've got this white membranous stuff on there. It's been pulled away here, but this is just like the white membranous stuff on the spinal cord. That's the arachnoid, and the CSF is gone, so it's just collapsed down, stuck on the brain. And the vessels, just like in the spinal cord, the vessels are on the surface of the neural tissue. So these are branches of middle cerebral veins and the middle cerebral artery out here that we're looking at. Okay, and they're like the ones in the heart. They come on the surface, and then they have these little penetrating branches that go in and supply. And when you slice the brain, you see like little dots of pepper in the brain. Those are all the arteries that have been cut across. Okay. Now the remainder of the falx is here, And you see, that's sort of intact, and it's kind of inhibiting the front of the brain from coming up, isn't it? So I've got to detach that. So the inferior portion of that, you see where it ripped away, is still attached, and that's preventing me from doing a lot here. So, see if I can get my finger in here. Hope that worked. Dun, dun. No, it didn't. Can I have those two things behind you, really? Why, my fingers aren't long enough. Take a big scissors. Okay, now we can begin to pull the frontal lobes up and try to get enough space for you guys to look in, because the first thing you see in there is you can see it better on this side. You can actually see two structures. You'll see the optic nerve, and right below it, the internal carotid artery on this side. So I'm going to kind of step over here. You can all look from that side and probably see it. Can you see the optic nerve, cranial nerve 2, and the internal carotid artery below it? No? No. Can somebody see it? I can see it.
I see it.
Well,
It's okay.
This way.
yeah, I'll show you the side in a minute.
This way, looking up?
Yeah, well, you kind of can look down at that crack. Right? Lean down. It's huge.
Hi, Chuck.
So what I got to do is I'm going to cut the optic nerve and the internal carotid artery on each side. Okay? Got that picture? How about this side? You see it over here?
Get in there.
Yes, that down there that has to be cut is the optic nerve. Okay? So I'll take my...
Zoom in, it does better, Chuck.
Oh, that thing that's attached.
Yeah.
Going this way.
Okay, so I'm going to try not to poke myself in the eye.
Okay.
And I'm going to cut that, and beneath that, the internal carotid artery. Okay, and on this side, I should have my...
You don't do it. He does all of them.
Do 2 today, maybe 1 tomorrow. Well, you could,
doing all of
if you want to do it, you can. Then we'll talk about it to the students after you fail. Okay, now I haven't quite gotten through this one here. There we go.
Oh. I'm wearing my 3-inch heel.
Okay, now the right side is done. The left side is done. And now, if you can look in the midline, right in the midline there's a purple thing. See that midline purple thing going that way into the bone?
You pull it back a little bit.
Well, no. Let me see. Let me get that out of the way.
Yeah, midline.
There. See that purple thing? In the midline there?
Right there?
Down, way down low.
Going deep, it back into the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see it from those sides? Maybe
Is that the attic?
Focus.
that's the
I gotta focus it.
infundibulum.
Right.
It's the thing the
Can I
pituitary
scoot by?
hangs
Just
from
try to
on the
focus
base
it in
of the
there, you
brain.
guys.
Okay. Way
And what is that called again?
Down there.
Oh, okay.
Right down at the
No, I'm
tip of the
trying to get in so I can
scalpel.
focus first when we actually study.
At the way down the tip of the scalpel, there's a
What's it called again?
purple thing. That's the infundibulum. It's a piece of brain that hangs down and has the pituitary hanging on it. But it won't pull because the pituitary's got a little ring of dura holding it in. So what I can do is I'll just cut that hypothalamus stalk.
Better if I focus all the
Okay.
way.
And then on this side, the next nerve you see when you look down in the crack is what comes after 2? 3.
You're smart.
Thank you, Jennifer. Did you see the third nerve? You can't miss it.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Okay, even Everett can see it.
Oculomotor.
Right down in the crack.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know if I'm going to keep recording.